All right, folks, so we're going to do a couple of beef briskets on the Komodo Joe this weekend. We've got about 30 pounds worth of brisket here. So I'm going to start with trimming it and getting it prepped to go. Let's get cooking. So it's currently Saturday morning and just getting these prepped to go. I want these to go on the grill at about 6 p.m. this evening. They're going to be ready for about 5 or 6 p.m. tomorrow. So even though we're a few hours away from wanting to put these on the grill, I like to get them started early. There's a little bit of work to go into trimming the fat off of these, getting them cleaned up and getting them ready for the grill. And then I like to put my rub on at least an hour before they actually go on the grill. And I usually really like to have it on there for about 3 hours before they go on the grill. So we're going to trim these, clean them up. Then I'm going to make up some rub, put the rub on, and let them sit for the rest of the day. And then this afternoon, we'll get the fire ready. Have the grill somewhere around, that 190, 200 degree range, and then let these cook low and slow overnight, and they'll be ready for dinner tomorrow. So when you're trimming your any meat, when you're trimming it to get ready to go on the grill, having a really good sharp knife is a huge help. For these briskets here, what I want is to trim off the majority of the fat, so it's about between an 1/8 and a 1/4 inch of fat that's still on the back side of the beef. That's going to provide a nice amount of fat that can render down. It's also going to get rid of the tough stuff that won't render. So you want to look for any of the fat that's going to be kind of grizzly stuff and get that off right away. The main fat cap here, I kind of take it in layers. And I expect to take about 3 pounds of fat off of this today before it's ready for the grill. And again, if you're trying to do this with a knife that's not properly sharp, you're going to get really frustrated real fast. You want your fat cap to actually be fairly thin, because if it's too thick, the flavor of your rub and your smoke aren't going to get in on that surface. So, like I say, down to about an 1/8 of an inch is what I like to deal with. That way you still get the juiciness of the fat, but you're still also able to get the bark from your rub and get that flavor of the rub and the smoke down into the meat. Now right here you can see, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up very well, but there's a change in the grain of the meat. So the grain is going this way here, and it's going this way here. So this, you'll see there's a line of fat right through there, and this is the separation between the point and the flat of the brisket. And of course the point has lots of good flavor to it because it has lots of marbled fat through it. So it's nice to be able to trim out this thicker fat, and we're actually going to trim right into here a little bit and trim out that channel between. There's also a good way, if you're going to separate your point from your flat later on, this is a great way of marking it, is to just start a little bit of a cut through there. And I'm going to come in from the top side, and we're going to pull out that strip of hard fat. So there's the separation to the point right there. This would be the flat of the brisket. That's the point. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is, there's the grain of my meat right there on the flat, and you can see the point. The grain goes a different direction. So on the flat, there's the grain of my meat. And of course, when you go to carve, you want to go cross grain. So what I like to do on my corner, I want to mark the direction that I'm going to carve. So I'm actually going to just cut a piece off the end. That's a little bit big, but we're going to put this on the grill too, and it's still going to get cooked. So I'm just going to set that aside. Now when this has the bark on it and you can't see the grain of the meat anymore, I'm going to know that that's the direction that I want to carve in right there. Okay, so we're going to set this one aside and get on to the next one here. So next thing we got to do is get some rub on these. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup, clean up some of the mess here, and then we'll get ready to put the rub on. All right, guys, so it's time to put our rub on. You can use whatever you want for rub. I found what I really like is I got a nice combination here of one of my favorite rubs. I've got some garlic powder, lots of black pepper and cumin, and then I blend in, once I've got all that blended up, then I add about the same amount of brown sugar. And what you're going to find is that adding a little bit of that brown sugar, I add a lot, but adding that brown sugar is going to help your bark form as you barbecue. So that's what I like to use for the rub. You can use whatever you want. I'm also choosing to go without using a binder. I gotta say, more often than not, I don't use a binder. If I was to use a binder on this, I guess probably just a little misting of oil or maybe some mustard to help the rub bind to the meat. But I'm not going to today. So I'm just going to sprinkle it on fairly generously. All right, you guys, so the grill is lit. Smoke is rolling very faintly. I've got some peach wood on here today. The firebox on the Komodo is loaded full. This is going to be a good 20 to 24 hour cook. So I've got it loaded full because I don't want to have to reload it halfway through. Temperature on the Komodo right now. See if I can get a shot of that. Temperature is about 175, holding beautifully there for the last half hour. Nice light smoke. You can't even see the smoke coming out of this thing right now. And there's our brisket ready to go. And over on the little grill today, I got some wings smoking over there for dinner right now. Lid. So we're 5 hours in. This is the first look that I'm going to have at it. So we'll see how it looks. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see it or not. It's looking pretty good. You can see some bark forming there on the one. It's looking pretty good. Lots of moisture still there, but I am going to just give it a quick spritz, I think. I like to make sure that it stays moist. Guys, here we are. It is about 11:30. I'm on my way to bed. The smoker is holding steady right where I'd like to see it going into the night. Temperature's been holding very nicely, so I'm confident that it'll hold overnight. Gonna give it one last look here before bed, and we'll give it a quick spritz. All right. Good night. Good morning, everyone. Here we are, 7 a.m. check-in on the briskets here. So they've been going all night long. Last time that I checked on them was before bed last night. So we're going to open this up and see how they look and see if we need to spritz them or where they're at. Still plenty of moisture on those. The bark is nicely forming. These are looking pretty good. I am going to take their temperature in a minute. I'm going to give them a spritz here. I'm going to take their temperature in a minute just to see where we're at. All right. I'm going to go grab the thermal pen and all right, folks, here we are for the 8 a.m. check. This has been on since just before 6 p.m. last night. It's actually about 8:30 now. I've let it go for a while here. So it's been on for, about 14 hours now. So we're going to take a look at it, see how it's doing, take the temperature. Starting to show the bark that I would expect. I am going to spritz it, let it go for a bit more, and see what happens to this thermal stall. All right, folks, so we are just over 16 hours, just coming up on 16 hours into the cook. So the air pressure has changed a little bit. It's changed the cook a little bit for me. So I've had to crack the vents open just a little bit more to get my temperature where I want it. The air pressure did change and the temperature started to drop just a little bit. But I corrected for it. Temperature is right where I want it right now. So we're just going to pop it open, do the thermal read. 170 there. The point is just over 160. 165 on that. 170 back there. So this one's pushing through. 155 there. So this one seems to be pushing through the stall for me. Now, as you bring it up, some straight probes down in will give you the feel for how the meat is actually, if it's staying tender, and this one is. Check this one, 156 there. So this one seems to be a little bit behind. It's just shy of 150. I'm going to keep pushing these guys. They seem to be coming through the stall on their own. The one on the right there, it is the slightly larger brisket. So it may take a little longer to come through, but I'm going to spritz the hell out of these and keep pushing for another hour. Alright guys, Here we are. It's now 17 hours into the cook. I'm fully anticipating wrapping the larger brisket. That's the one on my right, far side or top of the camera, top of the frame for you guys. I'm fully anticipating having to wrap that one right now. And then I'm going to check the other one and see where it's at and decide if I want to wrap it as well. That's reading 184 right there. That's the smaller brisket. 190. This one might finish on its own. I think this one's going to finish on its own. 175. So I'm not going to touch that one. I'm going to leave it. I'll spritz it. And I'm going to leave it and see what happens. You can see the bark is looking really nice on it. This one over here, 170 down in the flat. 163 there. Again. 155, 160. Yeah, 160, 65. So what I'm going to do, guys, I am going to wrap this one. I'm going to leave this one unwrapped and let it finish on its own. So, of course, I'm going to give this one a spritz. Alright, that's wrapped up nice. Back on the grill it goes. Now remember, having the lid open that long is going to impact the temperature of the grill. I shouldn't have left it open that long, but I wanted you guys to be able to see over to the far side where I was working. So the temperature of the grill will suffer a bit from that. I'll check on it in about 15 minutes to make sure that it's coming back up nicely. If not, I'll adjust the vents and make sure that we get it back up. But we're going to check on that again in about an hour, and hopefully in an hour they'll both be into the finish range. That smaller one on my left, bottom of frame for you guys, it's cooking up really nice on its own, and then that foil around that other one, that larger one, that should bring that one up to temperature about the same time, hopefully, as the small one. Alright folks, we are 20 hours into this cook now. Grill temperature is still holding great for me. I corrected a little bit earlier for that change in barometric pressure. It's all good. It's holding at 210 for me right now. I checked these just a few minutes ago, and the large one that was wrapped in foil, that thing is ready to come off. It's superb. The one on the closer or bottom of the frame on my left, it's pushed past the stall without being wrapped. So it's now right around that 190 point. I'll show you again. I'll double check. Now, when you get to this point in your cook, guys, it comes down to more than just temperature. You can see there's still a lot of moisture on this. It's looking fantastic. Probing here, 190, 189. Probing in the point, 185 up there. I had a 190 up here as well earlier, a few minutes ago. Yeah, 195, 194 there. And the other 207, 210 almost back, 210, there we got 210. The other thing though, when I'm probing, guys, is I'm not just checking the temperature. When I push the probe in, I'm actually feeling for the resistance. And they call it, they nickname it the peanut butter test. It should probe like peanut butter. That's when you know that it's done. And I can feel the difference. Back here it's like peanut butter. It's straight in. You know, we're pushing over that 200 mark back here. And it is so soft. And that's when you're really nice and tender. You know, there, 198. So this part back here is done. Up here, it still needs a little bit. So we're going to just let this finish out a little bit more. I think I'm going to wrap it just to get it finished, because I'm going to be wrapping it to put it into the cooler to rest anyway. So the big one over here, it's we're probing on this. It's like peanut butter everywhere. It's done. That last few degrees that's lacking up on these front portions, that's going to come on as it rests. So, and it's probing nice and tender in there, versus this one is not quite as tender. So I'm going to wrap this one up. I'm going to pull this one off and put it in the cooler to rest. So 21 hours now. The small brisket is about ready to come off. I just probe tested it. It's just starting to rain too. Like, this is perfect because I'm going to pull this off now and it's going to rain right after I pull it off. So I probed it. It's probing like 195-ish right now. But more importantly is it's probing tender. So it's not quite at that peanut butter stage yet, but it's getting really close. I'm going to let it finish in the cooler, wrapped up, and when it's resting, it should come the rest of the way to get me that tenderness that I want. I'm literally just going to wrap it up in the towel, tuck the ends under, and it's going to go straight into the cooler right like that. The other brisket is already in there, so we're just going to put this one in right on top. And I'm going to let these sit for about 3 hours in the cooler. The other one's already been in there for about an hour. There you have it, guys. There's what 23 hours worth of preparation turns out. And look at that. Just pulls apart in my hands. Nice and tender. And holy shit, it's good, guys. There it is, folks, the finished product. The bark on that brisket looks pretty great. The smoke ring was fantastic. The meat was nice and juicy and very tender. We served these up on pretzel buns with cheese and coleslaw to make sandwiches. I hope your family enjoys them as much as mine does. Hit the big thumbs up, the bell icon, subscribe icon, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers.